I'm Jейкобу Элорди, and I'm in studio with the Hollywood Reporter.
Now, Zendaya has said that when she first read this script, she signed on because of how fast she read the script. Was that a similar experience for you?
Yeah, totally. You read a lot of scripts and you read like 20 pages of them and you just want to throw them at the wall and never look at them again. But this was like...
Have you gotten a lot of those? You just toss them?
So, well, I couldn't be so arrogant.
Paper shredder?
Before this show, I kind of had to take whatever sort of came my way because I was just starting out. But just even when I read this, even though I was in that kind of position, you just knew from the moment that you read it. It reads like the show plays. It's so fast paced and it's so in depth and nothing in it was a cliche. You just knew the moment that you read it that it was like a really fine piece of work.
For you, what were some of the wow moments specifically that jumped out of the page?
The kitchen scene for me was the scene that I auditioned with, and
the knife.
The knife scene, yeah, and it was it's one of those scenes where I saw it in my head when I was reading it, and it's kind of like an actor's dream, or for me anyway, to be able to do something of that level. I never had something come across in a script, nor have I done anything in my work that sort of would demand that kind of intensity and stuff. So that was, for me, was like one of the biggest scenes that stood out to me. Like it's like imprinted from the first.
It's really intense.
Yeah.
I guess it's the best way to describe it.
I think so. Yeah.
As is the whole series. It's intense.
It's
Euphoria,
non-stop.
intense.
Yeah, your chest is kind of like,
It's gut wrenching a bit too.
Totally, 100%. I mean, making it was as well. The experience of making it, I think, is sort of on par with watching it.
Going off that, how did the series challenge you most as an actor? And it seems really draining in terms of emotional.
we all of us kind of, I guess, went to hell and back in the best way possible. We shot for almost a year, and it was almost every day, and playing Nate every single day, and being like, because I'm kind of like the complete opposite to him as a person, as I hope most people.
Oh yeah, I hope you are.
Yeah,
I'm kicking you out of here. Yeah.
But it was so demanding. I don't think I've ever been so tired, nor confused. Just because you'd go to work and you'd work all day, and then you'd go home, sleep, and then you'd wake up back at the studio, and it felt like you were in this trance the whole time. But I mean, it was physically demanding. It was mentally taxing, but it was so much fun.
Yeah. It was fun.
You felt like you were exhausting like every bit of of everything that you had. It kind of felt like you were putting it into the role. Well, I felt like I was putting it into the role every day. I hope it looks like that. But
it's euphoric. It's
literally. Yeah.
And kind of getting into the psychology of Nate, how did you first see him?
It's funny, in the first episode, you get this kind of somewhat stereotypical kind of like, it sets the field for who he is, and it's this, you see this aggressive jock who's got all this pent up anger and is just incredibly arrogant and full of himself. But I kind of had a feeling from the get go that like it wasn't gonna, because nothing else in the show is that simple. And so I started a journal from basically when I got the role. So I have this whole journal that's full of it's like kind of like his perspective.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's like photos of the whole cast in it, but it's like what he thinks of them and stuff like that. So it was like, it was this whole kind of, it was a journey figuring out who he was, and it changed so much as the show went on, because we would get scripts sort of weekly with revisions and stuff like that, and the character kind of changed as I changed. We kind of like made it up as we went, sort of thing. So it was really interesting.
Did you sympathize with him at all, or did you find it really difficult to?
100,000%. I had not even in that way of like where people like actors always say that you have to empathize with your character, even if they're the bad guy or whatever. But I never was able to see him as the bad guy, whether it's because I approached the story from his perspective always, but I would do a scene and where I'd be physically hurting someone, and then the crew and people would be like, oh,
yeah, that's what he hurts a lot of people.
Right, yeah. They'd be like, oh, he's such an arsehole, like he's such a macho dick, and it didn't really like register for me because I really couldn't see it, because the way that I tried to play every scene was as if what he was doing was like, it was like his truest intention. Like he wanted he wanted to save his family, or he wanted to save Maddie, and he wanted to love her. Like, he was just trying to fix problems in the only way that he knew how, like kind of with every fiber of his being. And unfortunately, that makes him in society you can't behave or act like that. But in terms of him as like a frightened boy, he was kind of acting like incredibly instinctually, and he kind of can't find fault in him nor blame him.
Get into his relationship with Maddie. You see him go in this violent rage when beating up the guy she slept with at the party.
Sure.
And it was very American Psycho. He takes a shower after.
I'm so glad you said that.
Did you see it that way? How did you see it?
We spoke about that. Sam and I spoke about it being somewhat reminiscent of that. And that was sort of when the character changed a lot too. And I don't want to say sociopath, but like I sat back and I was like, I realized that there was an emptiness to him after that scene, like when Patrick Bateman puts on his
the little face.
Yeah, he does his things in the morning. I kind of sort of watched that scene and I started thinking about that kind of thing, and because he like intellectualizes everything. Like Nate kind of like thinks about everything and then very rarely shows it unless he's like super angry. So I kind of went into this kind of sociopath sort of state and like did that kind of thing.
What was that face again?
Yeah, it was like, just watch the show, because sometimes like even I think he doesn't really look like. Sometimes I don't think I look like. I'll watch the show and I'm like, I don't know who that is.
Because a lot of it is like kind of an internal struggle too. You want to know what's going through his head.
Totally, yeah. That's what happened. He was like quite loud at the start, and then as we kept going, there's so many moments where he's just really quiet. Like I would just sit in a room or be in a room just watching everyone, which was really fun, really, really interesting.
Hello.